I think.
Thank you, Pete. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Full Course Yellow. It's a very, very rushed program tonight. Very late at night. I think we've all had a very, very big day. It's obviously too big a day for Doc. Doc hasn't been able to join us. Also, Dave Stillwell, I think, is down at Phillip Island at the moment. He might join us a little bit later on if he's up or around and he gets some decent Wi-Fi. But in the meantime, I've literally just walked through the door. So no news on the tickers tonight, unfortunately. Just simply haven't had time to put it all together. It's been a very, very busy week with one thing or another, and a very busy weekend coming up down at Phillip Island. Really hoping that I can get a few things finished tonight, so that we can so that I can get down to the island. But yes, joining us tonight is Pete Johnson, and Pete, so it's just you and I. So a fast show is a good show, and I suppose we can start off because speaking of lack of sleep, you actually stayed up and watched it live. The opening round of the World Formula One Championship. We spoke about it a little bit before the show when we were talking to Andrew Westacott on Tuesday night. But let's get your views now. What have we learned apart from the fact that can anybody beat Red Bull?
I think they can. I think it's too early to sort of press alarm bells. I think if I remember last year in Bahrain, Red Bull damaged their floor, and then something happened in Saudi Arabia, and they had some fuel problem in Melbourne. So I think they can, and I think also this year they've got the wind tunnel restrictions. I don't know when they come into effect, but I think later in the year we'll probably see that come into effect. And Aston Martin is very close to them. The one I'm worried about is Mercedes. I think they seem to have lost a lot of direction, and
it was really interesting. I don't know whether you saw the footage, saw the photos. Somebody released a couple of side by side photos of both the Mercedes and one of the Red Bulls, both locking up the left outside the left front wheel. Yeah. And producing a lot of smoke, which gave a beautiful illustration of what the aerodynamics was actually doing. And on the Red Bull, it was a beautiful smooth pathway that went down the side of the side pod and then kicked out around the rear wing. It was an absolute thing of beauty. Then the same shot from the same position of the Mercedes doing exactly the same thing, and the smoke was going everywhere. It was nice and smooth over the top and the start of the side pods, but once it got into that area at the back, it was just, you could see there was turbulence everywhere, and you wonder why. You really do wonder why they're persisting with that. I mean, Williams had a similar thing at the start of last year, and they sort of dropped it halfway through the year, and everyone thought, well, Mercedes will end up basically looking like every other car, in particular Red Bull. But they seem very determined to go their own way, and at the moment, it's not working.
Yeah. And also, there's tension. There seems to be tension creeping in because during the race, there was a radio message from George Russell saying that I'm faster than Lewis, let me through. And
Lewis clearly isn't happy, and if it keeps going on like this, you imagine he's going to get through the year being particularly unhappy. But they're saying that they've got some major upgrades coming once they get back to Europe. I've always said that the real thing almost doesn't start until they get back to Europe, because right now they're just they're running with because they haven't had long to test, so and they don't have easy access to their facilities. Yeah. So I think they'll just get through these first 3 races or so, and then once they get back to Europe, that we might see a few major upgrades. But I think Mercedes said that there might be something coming for the next round, and probably something even bigger for Melbourne.
Yeah.
What about our debuting Australian Oscar Piastri? I mean,
Yeah,
a tough start for him. I mean, he wasn't going to set
was
the world on fire, but
fine
how do
up.
you think he went?
Yeah, no, he wasn't going to set the world on fire. It's unfortunate that he had a mechanical issue. Um, it remains to be seen whether they'll fix it. They're saying they they didn't know what it was at the track, but they'll find out at the factory and go on to Saudi Arabia and hopefully solve it.
Yeah, well, you'd hope that they'd find it because if they're not 100% sure what it is. I mean, it just seems to have fallen to pieces. The sound you hear above the noise of the engine is Daniel Ricciardo laughing his way all the way to the bank. I mean,
Is
he must be saying, well, probably not a bad thing that I'm out of that mess at the moment. But it was good to see Fernando Alonso.
yeah,
Back in there, Roy's with us again, virtual art, and Roy's saying that, like glad to see his favourite driver. I think he's. Oh well, I said this in the lead up to the show on Tuesday night with Andrew and David that if we may not have Daniel Ricciardo and Oscar might be sort of towards the back of the field at the moment, but we've got a couple of of surrogates that we can go. Fernando's always been very popular in Melbourne. And as Andrew said when he came through the door, he said, basically, he said we've got 4 DRS sections now. He said that was because that was ticked off on Tuesday because he came in straight, direct and said it's been ticked off. He said Fernando got his way, and he said thank God. So they're all happy about that, and of course we've got Aussie Valtteri Bottas as well. So
yes, yeah, yeah.
he'll be you imagine he'll be very, very popular as well.
And if Alonso comes up, I can't remember. I think Fangio was in his 40s when he won his last championship.
Yeah.
So it would be a great story if Fernando got up and won a championship this year.
Yeah, and he's quite capable. I think he's quite capable of doing it just because of his, because he's got the brain. I mean, there's no doubt about it. He knows his way around a racetrack. He knows his way. He knows how to get the best out of that car. He knows how to make it last. And if there are any problems with reliability or things with either the Red Bulls or Mercedes or Ferrari, and Ferrari are looking like they're going to have sort of another fraught start to the season at least, and that's unfortunate because they started so well last year, and then sort of they sort of excited us unnecessarily because we thought, this is it, we're going to have this battle, the battle between Charles and Max it's going to go right through the year. It's going to be this Ferrari versus Red Bull. Boys, is going to be great. And sort of about halfway through the year, it all sort of petered out and came to nothing.
Yeah, and I think what I think is Ferrari has sort of taken out, they've phased out that decisions by committee with we're going to plan A, we're going to plan B, we're going to plan C, and no, we're not, we're going back to plan B. They've taken that out of, well, they appeared to in Bahrain that we're at plan A and that's it. They didn't sort of veer from plans and things.
Yeah, that was that's always been a Ferrari trait that over the years that they when the pressure comes on, you've got everybody arguing against everybody else and all the different divisions are at war with each other. And the times the time that they've done well is when they've had really strong leadership up front. I mean, in the days of Jean Todt and all, where you had someone there who was very focused and who was able to sort of say, hey, I'm in charge, all right.
Yes.
I'll take all of your input. I'll listen to your arguments and all the rest of it. But in the end, when I say this is plan A is the one we go with, plan A will be the one we go with, whether you like it or not.
Yeah.
But that was good. We've if you saw the program tonight on Channel 31 or on the YouTube channel, eventually did get it up on the YouTube channel. It was a very close run thing, but there's a bit of extra sort of content there as well. I haven't slept for 36 hours, so yeah, it was interesting. Like some of the stuff that Andrew and David were saying too, because we've got Formula 2 and Formula 3 coming to Melbourne, and in Formula 3, certainly in practice and qualifying, Hugh Barter did very well for his first time out. Was fifth fastest at one stage. Had some some problems during the races, but it was a fairly encouraging start for Hugh. And I can say I had it confirmed. Hugh got in touch with me overnight and said that yes, he will be in on the program on the 21st. So not this coming week, but the week after. Hugh Barter will be joining us in pit lane studio for a bit of a chat about his pathway into Formula 3 and how he's doing there and what he's expecting at Albert Park. I know he's looking forward to it. He's very busy. That's what he was saying, because he was going to come in the week of the Grand Prix, and he just went, no. It was like, I'll come in, and then Campos and sponsors and other people went, no, you're not. But so he's coming in basically straight after the Kuwait round. He's just going to come. He's going to be straight in. He gets back on the 20th, so he'll be back in on the 21st for a bit of a chat. So, yeah. Anything else from the Grand Prix that you're?
Apparently, I haven't read the full article in a Motorsport magazine, but apparently they're going to review the penalties. And there's a picture of an Alpine in it, because Esteban Ocon had 3 penalties during the Grand Prix, which we shouldn't laugh at, but they were legitimate. One was he was not in his grid spot properly, and the next one was that. So he served the 5-second penalty for that, but during that 5-second penalty, someone started to work on the car, which I thought was fairly amateurish. And then after that, he to get into the pit lane for that, for the 5-second penalty and the fixing of the front wing, which was damaged, he sped in the pit lane, which he got another penalty for. So he finished up virtually last, but yeah, it's.
Yeah, I mean, some of them. I mean, the pit lane speed limiter one, I mean, is the interesting one. I mean, the grid position. I mean, they've always been very, very, very strict with it, and there's probably no excuses for that. But the pit lane, if you're just being a fraction late on the pit lane speed limiter, I mean, that's. I don't think that's gaining you much, and I don't think it's a safety issue, because as long as by the time they get into the actual pit lane itself, they're at the limit. So it's not as if sort of he's arrived in the where everybody's working. It's sort of flying in at 95 k's an hour or something. He's at the speed that he's supposed to be on when he comes through, and he was at the speed when he went out. But it's just, you only need to be that fraction late. And I mean, after you've come off the track driving at close to at around 300 kilometres an hour, and suddenly you've got to press a button like that, and if you're that much too late, you're going to get penalised. I think it's a bit cruel. So I think they need to be a little bit flexible in some areas. But then everybody's in the same boat, and he was the one who did it. So and if he gets away with it, then everybody else will try it as well. So yeah, I think that's a problem that they'll have to look at. But I think it's good that they're having a look at it anyway.
Yeah.
So the next round will be another ridiculous time of the morning for us, will it?
Not so bad. Well, not so bad for me. The race itself will be at 4 o'clock in the morning. So
Lovely.
yeah, so that's not bad.
So just as you
It's
and Doc
better
are
than
getting
2
up.
o'clock. It's better than 2 o'clock in the morning, and then going back to bed. So
Yeah, so we'll get that out of the road, and then of course we come to Albert Park. I think one of the reasons Doc's not here, Doc's been working at the Grand Prix, doing some helping out with some construction stuff and some project management stuff over there. So he's been sending a few photos through on our private chat, and it's all coming together very, very well over there. And if you haven't seen the program for this week, weren't watching on Channel 31, or if you haven't seen the YouTube, have a look, particularly with the YouTube, because we've got extra. We do have the bonus content there, and I think Andrew and David both said some really interesting stuff, particularly stuff on the YouTube channel, the bonus content for in terms of what's happening in the future, or what might not be happening in the future of the race in regard to other categories apart from Supercars and Carrera Cup, and sort of the how they're going to try and just sort of do other things, because there's simply no time. This is what we're going to see, I think, for the rest of the contract. Now it's going to be the Formulas 1, 2, and 3, Supercars, and Carrera Cup, and the historic display. And that's, in terms of on track stuff, that's gonna be it for the next 15 or so years.
they eventually, I read somewhere that they're eventually going to go back to being the first race. So is that null and void now?
No, I think they're possibly next year or the year after. I know that there's 1 year because of something to do with Ramadan that they can't. So that's the only reason we're getting it in those years. I mean, there's nothing. They're not doing it as a favour to us, as much as they like to spin it that way. It's basically that Ramadan is on, and because of that, they can't run the Grand Prix during that time, because they won't have enough people to work there. They won't be able to set things up. There's a whole bunch of reasons that they're going to have to come over here instead. So I think it's whether it's next year or the year after, it will revert to the first round of the year, and I think there's a couple of others coming in the whole contract, but most of the time we're going to be the third or fourth cab off the rank.
Which means when we're the first race, daylight saving, because the problem is at the moment, like this year on Sunday on the race day, daylight saving finishes, and so when we're the first race, daylight saving will be around, so we probably would be able to have more categories and things.
Yeah, I think that is certainly going to be a problem. It makes the race not as convenient for that audience in particularly in Europe as well. The later they can run it, the happier they are over there. But obviously, you can't. We're running sort of fairly late as is. The thing is, I mean, if everything goes according to plan, the fact that we have sort of the 4 DRS zones and everything's going, the race should be well and truly, as long as we don't have sort of huge safety car periods, where we should be fairly right. And it's but it is that much later in the year, and the day will be that much shorter. So let's see how that goes. But there are sort of races for on the Thursday and Friday, fairly late into the evening, that made me go, that's so yeah. The supercar races and the Carrera Cup on Thursday and Friday, their first races. Could be quite spectacular. They could be really good for good photo opportunities, because you're going to get the fading light and the golden hour and the glowing discs and all the rest of it. So that could be worth going along and having a look and having the camera ready just for that reason.
Yep.
Speaking of supercars, they're running at Newcastle this weekend. They finally, a couple of days out from the first round, they finally signed off on homologation. But Ford are already saying, we reserve the right to come back and have a look at this again if this is not what we want it to be. We're going to come back and have a word about this. So I don't think it'll be interesting to see what happens on the weekend for the first time out. I mean, we won't be able to get too much of an idea of what's happening in the first. It's a bit like Formula One. I mean, they've had virtually no testing. There's been last minute changes to the aero on the Camaro and on the engine mapping system on the Mustang. That seems to have gone well. The Ford guys are saying that the new engine map has made the car a lot easier to drive and a lot faster, and they think it'll be a lot more and easier on the tyres, as well as a lot more competitive and similar to the way the Camaros are driving. So yeah, it'll be interesting. That all kicks off tomorrow. But
Yep.
as Mark Larkin was saying the other day, he said, "Look, he said, we've run around. They've run around Winton and they've run around Queensland Raceway and a little bit around Sydney Motorsport Park. But the opening round is on the streets of Newcastle with big curbs and concrete walls everywhere, and it's going to be a fairly unforgiving sort of debut."
Yeah, and it's interesting because he's also saying that the gauge will be at our park, but that's part street circuit as well. So
yeah, and they don't have a lot of time. I mean, if there is sort of massive damage or any major problems that come up with one car, now they've got very little time to do much about it. So it'll be a while before things settle down. But the drivers have all said, it's funny. I mean, Larkin said this as well. But talking to some of the drivers that I spoke to recently, that it does seem to have come down that a lot of the younger guys are saying, "Hey, we really like this. This is it feels more like a race. It slides around a bit, but we really like it." Whereas some of the more experienced drivers are going, including, interestingly enough, Shane Van Gisbergen, are going, "No, not, it's going to take some getting used to this."
Yeah, which will be interesting. If he doesn't get used to it, what will he do at the end of the year? Will he?
Well, he's got. You'd have to think he's got so many options. Almost both him and Chaz Mostert. I forget where it was just recently, but there were people, and it was an international discussion on sports car racing, and suddenly the name Shane Van Gisbergen came up, and this was someone over in Europe I think it was John Watson actually, who just basically said he could walk into pretty much any GT team in the world and say, "Hey, could I have a drive for you?" And it won't be a problem.
Yeah. And the same the same to a certain extent with Chaz.
Yeah, I mean, we all sort of forget about the fact that Chaz, in his last major outing, or one of his last major outings, sort of, drove the factory BMW to a victory at the Daytona. So he's got very good credentials as well coming up. So, and we're right around the corner to the opening round of the World Endurance Championship as well, which we're looking forward to, because that's where we see the debut of the Ferrari and the Cadillac, and taking on Toyota and Glickenhaus, and so it's a really exciting time. It's all happening.
I have a theory from left field. Zach Brown is saying that the relationship between him and Daniel Ricciardo is still strong, and Red Bull's going to Ford, and he's part of WAU, who is also going to Ford. So I wonder if eventually Daniel will end up in the supercar at some point.
Yeah, I can't see him going as a one-off. I mean, he said that he wouldn't mind having a steer at Bathurst, but I can't see him coming back to Australia in a hurry. I mean, he loves his lifestyle, particularly the American stuff. He absolutely loves. He's hugely in demand from the media. Once again, particularly in America, I think that he will probably go into. If anything, he might go to NASCAR, he might go to IndyCar, or he'll just sort of, he'll enjoy his semi-retirement, and he might do the occasional, special event, and in the meantime, have a good time popping up on various television shows and flashing that smile and telling a few jokes and making people happy. So good luck to him. Okay, well, that's coming up. Well, now coming up this weekend, of course, down at Phillip Island. I only found out sort of earlier today. I think it was that the last few days all rolled into each other. I was under the impression that it was being live streamed by Blendline, but apparently that's not the case. So we might on Saturday, depending on how things go and how much gear I can get there. We're not going to be covering races or anything like that, but we might do what we've done a couple of times at the various historics and another thing, and do a bit of a live pit walk just to show you some of the stuff. Now the good news is, from what I heard today, some stuff which I've put on the In Pit Lane Facebook page. Peter Ellenbogen said put some stuff up there. It seems that the Formula One cars from Europe have been given special dispensation to run without mufflers, and it certainly sounded like that. So that will be worth the price of admission alone. To hear all of those Cosworth DFVs singing their song around Phillip Island will be a wonderful, wonderful thing. And let's see if that can scare the damn Cape Barren geese away. It won't. But, so one qualifying, seven. That was fined £100. He's gonna miss that. Mad Cow Mark, good day, mate. Mark, how are you? And got that. And Mark is out apparently. I don't know where he's out to, but if you're out, bye-bye, Mark, or hello, Mark. I'm not sure. Where are you out to, Mark? But anyway, now I'll let you know for drag racing fans coming up this week on In Pit Lane, coming up next Thursday night. I've had it confirmed. Don't know who's coming in yet, but I've had it confirmed again today that somebody from the Street Outlaws, the American Street Outlaws program, and that series that is racing around Australia at the moment and is coming out to Calder Park next weekend. They will be on the program this week as well. So that could be interesting. That interesting concept, and seem to be very, very popular up at Queensland, up at Willowbank. But once again, sort of like very mixed reviews from a lot of people who were up there. There were some people who said, "Oh yeah, this was fantastic, best day out we've had in ages," and other people going, "No, that wasn't drag racing." There was drag racing on the weekend, incidentally, from the Perth Motorplex, and there was some good racing going on there. So a good field of top fuels and a massive field of top fuel bikes, and sort of sat there on Saturday night and Sunday night, or particularly Sunday night, just sitting there watching it on 7+. It was a good night. Yep. Yeah. Man, had to do some shopping. I know the feeling. I know the feeling, Mark. At the start of the program, I said I literally drove. I didn't drive into the driveway. I drove straight to the front door, jumped out, and raced here because I had to go out and do some shopping too. So the reason we started a little bit late. But anyway, as I said, coming up on the weekend, so keep an eye out on the Facebook page. That's probably where it'll pop up if we do anything, and we might go to YouTube. We'll have a look. I haven't got all the gear out. I've got a bit of new gear to do some live streaming stuff, some stuff I picked up, but I haven't had time to put it all together yet and test it out. And I won't have tonight because, to be brutally honest, as soon as we finish this, I've still got about 2 to 3 hours of editing to finish off the RX8 Cup stuff, and also got to do some personal stuff, and also get all the gear ready. Start getting all the gear ready for this weekend down at Phillip Island. So, any last minute things? Doc's not here to talk about two-wheel stuff. So, Roy's. I was going to ask you.
I don't know about two-wheel stuff, so
I didn't really sort of have a look. There was Superbike's have been racing. I think they were racing in Indonesia, but I didn't sort of have time. There was too much other stuff going. I had a look at some of the first race, but yeah, didn't follow through much on that. And then of course they're testing in MotoGP as well. But yeah, so Doc keeps his eye on all of that, and he's probably fast asleep at the moment. So okay. So the mini DV going, so more videos for next. Oh, that's fantastic news. So yes, a lot of our old shows, a lot of our old shows are on mini DV and DV cam, and hopefully Roy's got that taken care of. We've had a few problems with transferring that stuff, but it looks like the stuff he's ordered from Japan is actually working. Russell's going to be down the island on Sunday. Yeah, if you are down the island, as I said, I'm not sure about tomorrow. I'm going to desperately try to get down tomorrow, but we'll definitely be down on Saturday and Sunday. No doubt about that at all. We're going down there. Doc's going to be down there. A couple of the guys from the crew, Jason and Jaden, are also going down there. So we'll have people on the ground there with cameras, and we'll have stuff in the news next Thursday night on In Pit Lane, and then later on in the year on the Thursday after Easter, we will have the half-hour special dedicated to the Phillip Island Historic Classic. So that's coming up. Then. Also, speaking of historics, just got word today: the Baskerville historics, which we covered last year and was so good, but a little bit cold. They are now moving that to later in the year, and that's going to be basically the first weekend in November. So the weather should be better. It does move it. It's basically the unofficial Melbourne Cup long weekend. So that'll be really. So if you were just plan now, if you were thinking like, oh yeah, I'd like to go down there one day, do it. Trust me, it'll be fantastic. And the good news is the guys have said could In Pit Lane come back and do some more stuff down there. And it took about 4,000ths of a second for me to say, yes, please. Yes, we will do that. We will have more. So the MotoGP, I don't think it is this one. Do you know, Pete?
No, I don't. Sorry. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not sure. MotoGP. I'm just going to hit the Google machine and see. But yeah, it would have to start. It would have to start fairly soon, if I could get there. Yes, it is. I know. No, the official test, and 27th of March. Portugal is the first Grand Prix on the 27th of March. So the official test starts tomorrow, basically, or on Saturday our time. So that's coming up this weekend. So I'm not sure whether that's going to be covered anywhere, but that's the situation with MotoGP. So yeah, okay, everybody. Well, we might call it quits there. I'll go and see if we've lost any more wickets, and have some. I was saying to Pete before we got on there, I've got some. I'm not a beer drinker, but I found a beer that looks interesting because it's about 17% alcohol or something, and I thought that sounds like a beer I might be able to enjoy. So I'm going to open that can fairly soon, and hopefully that'll help me to sleep the night away. There we are. Let's have there from. If you see someone at Siberia on Sunday with a video, come say hello. Yeah, so say hi to Roy, and we'll catch up with you, Roy. I'll send you a message about that, because we might try and. I had an idea. I keep making work for myself, but I did have an idea. But when I was on the way home from shopping, I went, "Oh, hang on." I had an idea. I'll let you know. Okay. Well, Pete, I'll have it. You have a good weekend. What are your plans for the weekend? Watching Newcastle?
Yes, watching Newcastle. Yep.
Okay, well, you watch Newcastle for us. Take notes if necessary, because we'll be down at the island. As I said, keep abreast with what's happening down there on the In Pit Lane Facebook page. If we will be doing some stuff. How organised it'll be, we don't know at this stage. But as I said, I was under the impression that it was being live streamed, and apparently it's not. So yeah, we will see what we can do down there, and we will be certainly you'll certainly see stuff next week on In Pit Lane, 9 o'clock on Channel 31. It's good to be back on air. Thank you to everybody who sort of sent us messages and all the rest of it. We've had a good feedback from a lot of people online, and a few personal things as well from people welcoming us back. So yeah, really happy to be back, and it's looking like a good year, I think. Okay, everybody, we'll see you next week on Full Course Yellow at the later time of 9:30. Not sure about Doc and everybody else. I think they're asleep at the moment. Oh, by the way, just quickly, the reason Richard isn't here, Richard has been up as well. He's desperate to get hold of some legal shockers for his XL, because it looks like he's going to have to pull the plug on Bathurst, because they won't. There was a special dispensation granted, an extension for the old model shockers, but apparently that's now no longer the case. So that's expired. So if he can't find a set of these shockers pretty much in the next couple of days, he's got to pull the plug on Bathurst, and he's not happy about that, because he loves Bathurst and he wants to go back and race there again, as you can well imagine. Okay, everybody, we'll see you. We'll see you next week. To everybody, good night, Russell. Goodbye, Mad Cow Mark and Pete and Virtual R and everybody else from Pete and I. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next week. Until then, have a good weekend. Bye for now.